At the end of 2023, Manpower Group, one of the largest staffing firms in the world, conducted their annual survey on the state of human resources, and the results were alarming. Over 40,000 employers in 41 countries were interviewed in this process, and as it turned out, 3 out of 4 employers reported difficulty finding the talent they need, with the biggest impact being felt in the healthcare and life science industries. In this episode, we aim to discover the depth of global talent shortage problem, how it affects us, and what are some possible solutions to save us from the crisis. I'm your host, Joey Chow, and this is Beyond the Reefs. Hi, you're listening to Beyond the Reefs, a show produced by Radio Taiwan International. And here we talk about socioeconomic issues that are faced by Taiwan and their broader impact around the world, beyond the reefs of this island nation. We always thought that the robots and AI are taking over our jobs. But in actuality, soon there won't be enough humans to do these jobs anyways. Korn Ferry, which is a management consulting firm that has offices in 53 countries around the world, published a report that included a sweeping country-by-country analysis. And it finds that by 2030, there will be a global human talent shortage of more than 85 million people, roughly equivalent to the population of Germany. If left unchecked, in 2030, that talent shortage could result in about $8.5 trillion in unrealized annual revenues, or roughly equivalent to twice the GDP as Germany. That is definitely nicht gut. And we compare these numbers to our Deutsch friends for several reasons. First of all, for at least 3 years in a row, Manpower Group's surveys have reflected severe talent shortages in Germany, where consistently over 80% of employers expressed that they have trouble finding the right people for the job. And back in 2019, Germany was one of the first OECD countries to become a super-aged society. That means 1 in every 5 citizens is over the age of 65. It might be the end of the great workforce era globally. From the baby boomers in the 1940s to Gen Zs in the 2010s, we've enjoyed decades of huge population growth, which means huge labor forces and consumer markets. When there are a lot of people making and spending money, it keeps the economy hot. But with every subsequent generation now starting to dwindle in size due to low birth and fertility rates, the economies around the world could be slowing down. But these problems are actually quite common in the developed parts of the world.
The world is facing a growing talent shortage. Rapid digital transformation, globalization, and social and demographic shifts are impacting labor markets around the world. Technology is transforming how work gets done, creating new roles that require new skills. Employers are struggling to fill roles, threatening productivity, efficiency, and future growth, pushing global talent shortages to their highest level in over a decade. The talent shortage is real. Organizations must rethink their talent strategy to succeed in the digital age. It's time to embrace a new paradigm around attracting and retaining skilled talent. How will your organization respond to the talent shortage?
We here in Taiwan are about to go down the same path by becoming a super-aged society by 2025. Taiwan's birth and fertility rates are so low that in 2023, they're both sitting at the bottom of a list of 227 countries, according to a report from the CIA. Occupying the low ends of these lists with us are some of our Asian neighbors, Hong Kong, South Korea, and Japan. This can be a big problem because these 3 markets make up almost a quarter of Taiwan's global trades every year. If everyone in an entire region is having fewer babies, potentially slowing down economic growth, who are we going to trade with? Well, that's partly why the Taiwanese government has been pursuing the New Southbound Policy, an initiative that aims to enhance cooperation and exchange between Taiwan and 18 countries in Southeast Asia, South Asia, and Australasia. But finding new trade partners is only one part of the solution. Since 2017, Taiwan's government has also introduced a series of policies to tackle the problem of talent shortage. And talent shortage is a trend we've noticed for many years. Back in 2022, Taiwan's domestic job opening exceeded 1 million for the first time in history. The following year, a survey from Manpower Group, the same one we mentioned at the top of the episode, reported that 90% of Taiwanese employers reported difficulties filling open roles. 9-0, the highest in the world, beating Germany's 86% in that year, which was the second highest in the world. Today, we'll be speaking with the managing director of Taiwan Gold Card Office, the office that was created to become a major part of the solution of Taiwan's talent shortage problem. The managing director's name is Jonathan Liao.
My name is Jonathan Liao. I'm the managing director of the Taiwan Employment Gold Card Office. This is a project office that was started in October of 2020 by the National Development Council. Its main purpose is to help advise and to help clean up and promote all of the information regarding the employment gold card. The gold card itself is a 3-year resident work visa with open work permit. It was part of the Recruitment Act, which came out in 2018 to help Taiwan attract more highly qualified foreign professionals. Rewinding back to 2018, in a sense, Taiwan was at a point where I think they were catching wind of these issues, in terms of needing more talent. Taiwan has a very low birth rate, so it's quickly advancing towards an aging society. So therefore, it would have to, supplant that working force from abroad. So that was the purpose of the Recruitment Act, which includes, many different initiatives, including the Gold Card, but also how to attract teachers, freelance permits for, people in the arts industries and so forth. So it was kind of a very broad act that was put into place. And then very quickly after 2018, it was towards the end of 2018 that it was put into action. We hit COVID. So during COVID, obviously the entire workforce globally, there was a big shift. There was the Great Migration. There was a bunch of these issues that, people started considering what their options were. And that, in a sense, I think, may have exacerbated the situation for Taiwan as well as other countries. So coming out of COVID, they quickly realized how much more of an issue that, talent would be an issue in terms of keeping the economy going. So throughout this entire time, there have been amendments to the act. There have been different initiatives that have come out to help Taiwan try to attract the overall, target of this 400,000 by 2030. It's a huge number, right? So, it's no easy task for one thing. But Taiwan's also starting to look at the different groups that it consists of. It's not 400,000 students or 400,000 professionals. It's actually a mix. The bulk of the task will come down to students. So Taiwan is actively attracting overseas students. But this means, students obviously coming for university studies. They experience the country, they meet their friends, they're in a teaching environment, and they will eventually make up the workforce. So that consists of about 50% of the 400,000. Another 35% is, technical services, people that have maybe 1 or 2 years experience, but, they are here looking for more, everyday jobs in a sense. The gold card is actually a small subset of what they call foreign professionals. So gold card is a foreign special professional, meaning they have a special expertise. But the larger group of foreign professionals, that only makes up 15% of the 400,000. I'll try to explain this. It is confusing. So 专业人才, 外籍专业人才 is the equivalent of what they call foreign professionals. This is according to, I believe it's the Employment Act, basically the labor laws of how Taiwan employs foreigners. When they apply for a permit, usually, so actually, those people are required to have a job. So their employer actually would apply for their work permit, which gets translated into a resident visa. So this is under 劳动部, Ministry of Labor. So for the 特定专业人才, the foreign special professionals, they actually have 2 routes. If the company applies or they apply themselves, is as the Recruitment Act has come out among 10 industries. So each of the 10 industries, including finance, science and technology, digital industry, and so forth, have certain criteria that the individual needs to qualify for. And if they qualify, then therefore they get issued an ARC under特定专业人才 or foreign special professionals. So the gold card is within that. So if you have a gold card, you're considered a foreign special professional. And the process, depending on which industry they work in, so if they're in arts and culture, then their application eventually goes to 文化部. If they're in finance, then eventually their application goes to 经管会. But it is a cross-ministry application. It starts off in the immigration agency, or perhaps even MOFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, gets involved. Depending on where they're applying and how they're applying, it goes through these different ministries, including Ministry of Labor and so forth, before it actually translates into an ARC. We don't actually process the applications, but we are essentially the help desk. So any questions, we have a help desk email and telephone that anyone, individual or company, is allowed. If they have questions, they can ask us. We're happy to answer them. But the application goes through the government ministries.
The Taiwanese Employment Gold Card, which is a 3-year residence open permit work visa, a part of Taiwan's Recruitment Act that came out in 2018 to help Taiwan attract more highly qualified professionals. Understandably, it's not easy to get. But talent shortage is one thing. Taiwan also has a talent outflow problem. Our skilled professionals are highly sought after, with Google, Microsoft, and Amazon all having held large-scale recruitment campaigns here. Not surprisingly, there's not many local companies that can compete with these big tech giants in terms of salary, benefits, and opportunities. Cheers Magazine, an online Taiwanese publication that focuses on topics of interest for young professionals, publishes annual white paper on the workforce of Taiwan. Last year, they addressed the outflow of Taiwanese talent to countries like the US, Canada, and our Asian neighbors, Japan and South Korea, who are also faced with the problem of aging populations, low birth rates, as well as talent shortage. On the other hand, Taiwan has also nurtured a lot of brilliant tech talents. For example, Xu Fengxiong, the Taiwanese scientist whose work led to the creation of Deep Thought, the first computer to defeat chess grandmasters. And then, of course, there's Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, the highest value tech company in the world, and Stephen Chen, founder of YouTube, who actually decided to return to Taiwan with his family on a gold card visa since 2019. These are success stories that were possible because the individuals were exposed to both sides, the Taiwanese industrious discipline and the American innovative expression. What does Jonathan Liao think about the future of Taiwan's talents, and what has he planned for the Gold Card Office?
I think in some ways, talent circulation is, as we put it, is great. Circulation being, people are educated in one country, they get work experience in another, they, continue their career in a third country, and then eventually they obviously still connect with their home country. So we've seen this with a lot of Taiwanese Americans, the second generation or even further, where they're starting to come back or having more connection with Taiwan, especially in the tech industry. I think that's special because, especially, again, coming out of COVID, hybrid working, remote working, it's much more of a possibility now that where you're physically based and where you're doing work isn't always the same. It's a bit difficult to answer that, is the outflow significant enough that it's affecting Taiwan? Or is it actually beneficial in some ways as Taiwan talent gets more exposure to the global market? One of the big reasons for any startup is, they need to focus on the global market. But if the founders, entrepreneurs, or even the developers, they've never worked for an overseas company or experienced the overseas consumer market, it is very difficult for them to actually develop their product for, their company. So it has happened, and besides Steve, Jensen, and others, that have Taiwanese heritage, have this, quite, really awesome success stories in overseas companies. I don't know if there's one deciding factor, but I kind of put it down to, they've been exposed to both sides. They have a Taiwanese upbringing within their family, so they're very disciplined at what they do. But they've also got to experience, America in all of its innovation and freedom of thought and expression that they were able to try a product and try different ways of doing things, and eventually hit on something that becomes quite successful. One of my I think goals this year, in a sense, is the overall marketing, I think, of Taiwan. When we push just the gold card, it invariably involves Taiwan. Most people know Taiwan after they've either studied here or traveled here before. I kind of want to try to change that. I want to get to a point where Taiwan becomes a destination. It's not an afterthought in that sense. It will take quite a bit of work, obviously, and I don't think it's something we can accomplish on our own. The overall branding message of Taiwan. What are the benefits of Taiwan? Why would people consider coming here? I think that's something worth focusing on, to get Taiwan as a destination. People always talk about Singapore or Hong Kong or other cities around the world, that if we can get Taiwan as a place that let's go, you can go check it out. It's super safe. People are friendly. There's so many things to do. And as the work environment starts to improve, that people can come here and actually consider it as a home. I guess there's 2 points. I think I talked about marketing Taiwan, but I think the local industry, local corporates, and just the general Taiwan society needs to also recognize that this is happening. So as more foreigners are coming, how Taiwan starts to engage with this new demographic, in a sense, is quite important for the future of Taiwan. So are they finding enough jobs? Are the services friendly enough? Language isn't always necessarily the barrier. It could be a cultural barrier or something else. This is something that's happening. People are coming, but Taiwan as a place to live needs to kind of recognize that and start to consider more companies offered more positions, gave more opportunities to foreigners. That will ultimately benefit everyone. That's the first point. But we're also expanding into what's called Talent Taiwan, focusing more on the overall recruitment, including foreign professionals. So we will be promoting all of this information on both channels, in a sense.
As you heard, talent.net.gov.tw and goldcard.net.gov.tw are great platforms offering resources and help desk services for those who want to work here in Taiwan. We began this journey by asking how a world seemingly obsessed with automation and AI could also be scrambling for human talent. And the answer, it turns out, is complicated but urgent. From the Manpower Group's global survey to Taiwan's own record-breaking talent gaps, one thing is clear: the shortage isn't coming, it's already here. Countries are aging, populations are shrinking, and industries from healthcare to high-tech are struggling to fill the skilled people they need to survive, let alone thrive. But if we zoom out just a little, what we're really seeing is a turning point, a moment that asks us to redefine how we think about work, migration, education, and identity. Taiwan, like many other developed societies, faces dual pressures. Not only are we running out of workers, we are also losing some of our best and brightest to opportunities abroad. But the reverse is also true. We're gaining global talent. People like Jonathan Liao are working on making Taiwan a destination, not just a detour, for talents that's mobile, multilingual, and mission-driven. And maybe that's the key, as Jonathan said. Talent isn't just leaking or landing, it's circulating across borders, across cultures, across ideas. What matters now is how well we adapt, how we build the bridges, offer the support, and create a society that welcomes differences while cultivating excellence. If Taiwan wants to remain competitive on the world stage, we'll need not just engineers and researchers, but empathy, open-mindedness, and a shared sense of purpose. So whether you're a policymaker, an entrepreneur, or just someone wondering what the future of work looks like, know this: the talent race is on, but it's not just about numbers. It's about values. It's about making Taiwan and the world a place where people want to stay, contribute, and belong. Thank you for listening. I'm Joey Chow, and this is Beyond the Reefs. Until next time, keep asking big questions and keep reaching beyond.